Imagine having a tool that could change your life, something so simple you can do it anywhere, anytime. Well, you don't have to imagine it because it exists. It's called mindful breathing, and it's a practice that can transform how you feel, think, and live. Now you might be thinking, breathing? Really? How can something I do all day without thinking about it be that powerful? But here's the thing. Mindful breathing isn't just any breathing. It's a way of paying attention to your breath that can calm your mind, relax your body, and help you feel more connected to yourself and the world around you. This isn't some complicated technique that takes years to master. You don't need any special equipment or to go to a fancy retreat. All you need is your breath and a few minutes of your time. But don't let its simplicity fool you. Mindful breathing is like a secret superpower that's been hiding in plain sight all along. It's been used for thousands of years in different spiritual traditions, and now science is catching up, showing us just how much it can help us in our everyday lives. Think about it. Your breath is always with you. It's there when you're stressed about a big meeting at work, when you're stuck in traffic, or when you're lying awake at night worrying about the future. What if you could use that ever-present breath to help you feel calmer, more focused, and more in control? That's what mindful breathing can do for you. Now, you might be wondering why this matters. Why should you care about how you breathe? Well, let me ask you this. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by stress? Have you ever wished you could quiet that non-stop chatter in your head? Have you ever felt disconnected from yourself or the people around you? If you answered yes to any of these questions, and let's face it, who hasn't? Then mindful breathing could be a game changer for you. Here's the thing. In our busy, always-on world, we're constantly bombarded with information, demands, and distractions. We're often so caught up in thinking about the past or worrying about the future that we forget to be here, now, in this moment. And that takes a toll on us. It can leave us feeling stressed, anxious, and disconnected. But when we practice mindful breathing, we create a pause in all that busyness. We give ourselves a chance to step back, to reconnect with ourselves, and to find a sense of calm and clarity. If you don't try mindful breathing, you might miss out on a simple but powerful way to reduce stress, improve your focus, and feel more balanced. You might continue to feel overwhelmed by the ups and downs of life, always reacting instead of responding. But if you do practice mindful breathing, you could discover a whole new way of being. You could find that you're better able to handle stress, that you can focus more easily on what matters, and that you feel more connected to yourself and others. In this video, we're going to explore exactly how to practice mindful breathing. We'll talk about why it works, what benefits you can expect, and how to make it a regular part of your life. By the end, you'll have all the tools you need to start this simple but powerful practice. So, what exactly is mindful breathing? At its core, mindful breathing is simply the practice of paying attention to your breath. It sounds easy, right? And in many ways it is, but it's also a powerful tool for training your mind and connecting with your body. When we talk about mindful breathing, we're not talking about changing the way you breathe or trying to breathe in any special way. Instead, it's about noticing your breath just as it is. It's about becoming aware of the sensation of breathing, the feeling of air moving in and out of your nose or mouth, the rise and fall of your chest or belly. Here's a simple way to try it right now. Take a moment to notice your breath. Don't try to change it, just pay attention to it. Feel the air moving in and out. Notice where you feel the breath in your body. Is it in your nose, your chest, your belly? Just observe without judging or trying to change anything. That's mindful breathing in its most basic form. Simple, right? But in that simplicity lies its power. When you focus on your breath, you're anchoring yourself in the present moment. You're not thinking about what happened yesterday or worrying about what might happen tomorrow. You're just here now, with your breath. Now, you might be wondering why this is considered a spiritual practice. After all, we're just talking about breathing, something we do all day, every day. But mindful breathing has been a part of spiritual traditions around the world for thousands of years. In Buddhism, it's a key part of meditation practices. In yoga, it's used to connect the body and mind. In Christian contemplative traditions, it's used as a way to center oneself in prayer. The reason mindful breathing is considered spiritual is that it helps us connect with something deeper than our everyday thoughts and worries. When we focus on our breath, we're tuning into the rhythm of life itself. We're becoming aware of the process that keeps us alive from moment to moment. And in doing so, we often find that we feel more connected to ourselves, to others, and to the world around us. But you don't have to be religious or even consider yourself spiritual to benefit from mindful breathing. It's a practice that can help anyone, regardless of their beliefs. It's a way of tuning into your own experience, of becoming more aware of what's happening in your body and mind, and that awareness can be transformative. Think about it this way. How often do you go through your day on autopilot, not really noticing what you're doing or how you're feeling? Mindful breathing is a way of waking up from that autopilot. It's a way of becoming more fully present in your life. And here's the beautiful thing about mindful breathing. It's always available to you. Your breath is always there, waiting to be noticed. Whether you're sitting in a quiet room or standing in a crowded subway car, you can always take a moment to tune into your breath. It's like having a mini meditation that you can do anytime, anywhere. Now you might be thinking, this sounds great, but how do I actually do it? Don't worry, we're going to get into the specifics of how to practice mindful breathing. But for now, just remember this. Mindful breathing is simply about paying attention to your breath. It's about noticing the physical sensations of breathing without trying to change them. As we go deeper into this practice, you'll learn different techniques and approaches. But at its heart, mindful breathing is always about coming back to this simple awareness of your breath. It's a practice of returning again and again to the present moment. And here's something important to remember. There's no right way to do mindful breathing. Your mind will wander, and that's okay. In fact, noticing that your mind has wandered and gently bringing your attention back to your breath is a key part of the practice. It's not about achieving some perfect state of focus. It's about cultivating awareness, patience, and kindness towards yourself. As we continue, we'll explore how mindful breathing works, why it's so beneficial, and how you can make it a regular part of your life. But for now, just remember this. Your breath is always with you, always available as an anchor to the present moment. And in that simple act of paying attention to your breath, you have a powerful tool for transformation. Certainly. I'll continue the script with the next 3 sections from the outline, maintaining the same engaging and in-depth style with simple language. Now that we understand what mindful breathing is, let's talk about how it actually works. You might be wondering, how can something as simple as paying attention to my breath make such a big difference? Well, it all comes down to the connection between your breath, your body, and your mind. Think about what happens when you get stressed or anxious. Your heart starts beating faster, your muscles tense up, and your breathing becomes quick and shallow. This is your body's natural fight or flight response. It's helpful when you're in real danger, but not so much when you're just feeling overwhelmed by everyday stress. Here's where mindful breathing comes in. When you focus on your breath and start to breathe more slowly and deeply, you're sending a signal to your body that everything is okay. It's like pressing a reset button on your nervous system. Your heart rate slows down, your muscles relax, and you start to feel calmer. But mindful breathing doesn't just affect your body, it also has a big impact on your mind. When you're focused on your breath, you're not caught up in worries about the future or regrets about the past. You're here, in the present moment. This can help break the cycle of negative thoughts that often fuel stress and anxiety. Let's use an everyday example to make this clearer. Imagine you're stuck in traffic. You're going to be late for an important meeting, and you can feel yourself getting more and more stressed. Your hands are gripping the steering wheel tightly, your jaw is clenched, and your mind is racing with thoughts about how bad this situation is. Now imagine if you took a moment to practice mindful breathing in this situation. You start to pay attention to your breath, feeling the air moving in and out. As you focus on your breath, you might notice that your grip on the steering wheel loosens a bit. Your jaw might unclench. You might even realize that getting stressed isn't going to make the traffic move any faster. This doesn't mean your problems magically disappear. You're still stuck in traffic, and you're still going to be late. But by using mindful breathing, you've changed how you're responding to the situation. Instead of being caught up in stress and frustration, you're more calm and centered. This is how mindful breathing works in our daily lives. It gives us a tool to step back from our automatic reactions and choose how we want to respond. It helps us create a little space between what happens to us and how we react to it. Now, let's talk about how this connects to spiritual ideas. In many spiritual traditions, there's an idea that we're more than just our thoughts and feelings. We have a deeper self, sometimes called our spirit or soul. When we get caught up in the busyness of life, we can lose touch with this deeper part of ourselves. Mindful breathing is a way of reconnecting with this deeper self. When we focus on our breath, we're stepping back from the constant chatter of our thoughts. We're creating space to experience a sense of calm and clarity that's always there underneath all the noise. Think of it like this. Your mind is like a pond. When the wind is blowing, like when you're stressed or worried, the surface of the pond is all choppy and you can't see clearly. Mindful breathing is like calming the wind. As you focus on your breath, the surface of the pond becomes still, and you can see more clearly into the depths. This is why many people find that mindful breathing can lead to insights or aha moments. When we quiet our minds, we create space for new thoughts and ideas to bubble up. We might suddenly see a solution to a problem we've been struggling with, or gain a new perspective on a situation. Remember, you don't need to believe in any particular spiritual idea to benefit from mindful breathing. Whether you see it as a spiritual practice or simply a practical tool for managing stress, the benefits are the same. It's all about becoming more aware, more present, and more in tune with yourself. Now that we understand how mindful breathing works, let's talk about some of the specific benefits you might experience if you make this a regular practice in your life. First and foremost, mindful breathing is a powerful tool for managing stress. In our busy, often hectic lives, stress has become almost a constant companion for many of us. But when we practice mindful breathing, we activate our body's relaxation response. This can lower our heart rate, reduce muscle tension, and help us feel calmer overall. It's like giving your mind and body a mini vacation, even if it's just for a few minutes. Let me share a personal experience with you. A few years ago, I was going through a particularly stressful time at work. I had deadlines piling up, and I was feeling overwhelmed and anxious all the time. That's when I started practicing mindful breathing. At first, it didn't seem to make much difference. But as I stuck with it, I noticed that I was handling stress better. Instead of immediately reacting to every email or request, I was able to take a breath and respond more calmly. It didn't make my work disappear, but it made it much more manageable. Another big benefit of mindful breathing is improved focus and concentration. In our world of constant distractions, being able to focus is like a superpower. When you practice mindful breathing, you're training your mind to stay focused on one thing: your breath. Over time, this ability to focus can carry over into other areas of your life. You might find it easier to concentrate on your work, or to really listen when someone is talking to you. Mindful breathing can also help with emotional regulation. You know those times when you feel like your emotions are running the show? Maybe you snap at someone in anger, or you feel overwhelmed by sadness or anxiety. Mindful breathing gives you a way to step back from these intense emotions. It doesn't make the emotions go away, but it can help you respond to them in a more balanced way. Here's an example. A friend of mine used to struggle with anger issues. He'd get into arguments with his partner over small things, and he'd often say things he later regretted. He started practicing mindful breathing, especially when he felt himself getting angry. He found that if he could take a few mindful breaths before reacting, he was much less likely to say something hurtful. The anger didn't disappear, but he was able to handle it in a healthier way. Many people also find that mindful breathing helps them sleep better. If you've ever lain awake at night with your mind racing, you know how frustrating that can be. Mindful breathing can help quiet those racing thoughts and relax your body, making it easier to fall asleep and stay asleep. There's also growing evidence that regular mindful breathing can have physical health benefits. It may help lower blood pressure, reduce chronic pain, and even boost your immune system. While it's not a replacement for medical treatment, many doctors now recommend mindful breathing as a complementary practice to support overall health and well-being. One of the most profound benefits of mindful breathing is that it can help you feel more connected to yourself, to others, and to the world around you. When we're always rushing from one thing to the next, it's easy to feel disconnected or out of touch. Mindful breathing helps us slow down and really be present in our lives. I remember talking to someone who had been practicing mindful breathing for several years. She told me that one of the biggest changes she noticed was in her relationships. She found that she was really listening to people instead of just waiting for her turn to talk. She was more patient with her kids and more understanding with her partner. She said it was like she was finally showing up for her own life. Now, it's important to note that these benefits don't happen overnight. Mindful breathing is a practice, and like any practice, it takes time to see results. You might notice some immediate benefits, like feeling calmer after a few mindful breaths. But the deeper benefits come with regular practice over time. Also, everyone's experience with mindful breathing is unique. You might find that some of these benefits resonate with you more than others. That's perfectly normal. The key is to approach the practice with an open mind and see what benefits you notice in your own life. Now that we've talked about what mindful breathing is and why it's so beneficial, let's get into the practical stuff. How do you actually do it? Don't worry, it's simpler than you might think. Find a comfortable position. You can sit in a chair with your feet flat on the floor, or you can sit cross-legged on the floor if that's more comfortable. Some people even like to lie down. The important thing is that you're comfortable and your spine is straight. Close your eyes if you want to. This can help you focus, but if you prefer to keep your eyes open, that's fine too. You might want to soften your gaze and look down at the floor a few feet in front of you. Take a few deep breaths to settle in. Don't try to change your breathing. Just take a few breaths that are a little deeper than normal. Now let your breath return to its natural rhythm. Don't try to control it. Just let your body breathe naturally. Start to pay attention to your breath. Notice where you feel it most strongly. It might be the air moving in and out of your nose, or the rise and fall of your chest or belly. When you notice your mind wandering, and it will, gently bring your attention back to your breath. Don't get frustrated or judge yourself when this happens. Mind wandering is totally normal. The practice is in noticing that your mind has wandered and bringing it back. Try to do this for about 5 minutes to start with. You can gradually increase the time as you get more comfortable with the practice. That's it. That's the basic practice of mindful breathing. Simple, right? But don't let its simplicity fool you. This simple practice can be incredibly powerful when done regularly. Now, you might be wondering how often you should practice mindful breathing. To start with, try doing it once a day. Pick a time that works for you. Maybe first thing in the morning, or during your lunch break, or right before bed. The important thing is to make it a regular part of your routine. As for how long to practice, start with just 5 minutes a day. That might not seem like much, but it's enough to start experiencing benefits. As you get more comfortable with the practice, you can gradually increase the time. Some people work up to 15 or 20 minutes a day, but even 5 to 10 minutes can be really beneficial. Be patient with yourself. Like any new skill, mindful breathing takes practice. Don't expect to be good at it right away. Remember, there's no such thing as perfect mindful breathing. The practice is in coming back to your breath again and again. Try using a timer. This can help you relax into the practice without worrying about how much time has passed. There are lots of free meditation timer apps available, or you can just use the timer on your phone. Experiment with different times of day. Some people find that mindful breathing in the morning helps them start the day off right. Others prefer to do it in the evening to unwind from the day. Try different times and see what works best for you. Don't worry if you feel sleepy. This is common, especially when you're first starting out. If you find yourself getting really sleepy, try opening your eyes or sitting up straighter. Remember that you can practice mindful breathing anytime, anywhere. While it's helpful to have a regular practice time, you can also take mindful breaths throughout your day. Waiting in line at the grocery store? Take a few mindful breaths. Feeling stressed at work? Take a mindful breathing break. Consider using a guided meditation to start with. There are lots of free guided mindful breathing meditations available online. These can be really helpful when you're first learning the practice. Remember, the goal of mindful breathing isn't to clear your mind of all thoughts. That's not possible, and it's not what we're aiming for. The goal is to become aware of your breath and to keep coming back to it. Each time you notice your mind has wandered and you bring it back to your breath, that's a moment of mindfulness. That's the practice. Certainly. I'll continue with the remaining sections from the outline and add a conclusion, maintaining the same engaging and in-depth style with simple language. As you start practicing mindful breathing, you might run into some challenges. Don't worry, this is completely normal. Let's talk about some common problems people face when they're starting out and how you can overcome them. One of the biggest challenges people face is a wandering mind. You sit down to focus on your breath, and suddenly your mind is thinking about your to-do list, or that embarrassing thing you said 5 years ago, or what you're going to have for dinner. This is absolutely normal. Our minds are designed to think, and asking them to focus on something as simple as breathing can feel strange at first. The key here is to remember that noticing your mind has wandered is part of the practice. Each time you notice your mind has wandered and you bring it back to your breath, you're strengthening your ability to focus. It's like doing a rep at the gym, but for your mind. So don't get frustrated when your mind wanders. Just gently bring your attention back to your breath. Another common challenge is finding the time to practice. We're all busy, and it can feel hard to carve out even 5 minutes a day for mindful breathing. The solution here is to start small and be consistent. 5 minutes a day is better than 30 minutes once a week. You might even start with just 1 minute a day. The important thing is to make it a regular part of your routine. Some people find that they feel restless or antsy when they try to sit still and focus on their breath. If this happens to you, remember that it's okay to move if you need to. You might try a walking meditation where you focus on your breath as you walk slowly, or you could try mindful breathing while doing gentle stretches. Another challenge people sometimes face is falling asleep during their practice. While getting some extra rest isn't necessarily a bad thing, it's not the goal of mindful breathing. If you find yourself getting sleepy, try practicing at a different time of day, or try opening your eyes and softening your gaze on a spot in front of you. Some people worry that they're not doing it right. They think there must be some perfect way to practice mindful breathing, and they're not achieving it. Remember, there is no perfect way to practice. The only right way is the way that works for you. As long as you're bringing your attention to your breath, you're practicing mindful breathing. Finally, some people get discouraged if they don't see immediate results. They practice for a week and wonder why they're not enlightened yet. Remember that mindful breathing is a practice. Just like you wouldn't expect to be able to run a marathon after jogging for a week, you shouldn't expect to completely transform your mind after a week of mindful breathing. The benefits come with consistent practice over time. The most important thing to remember when facing these challenges is to be kind to yourself. Mindful breathing is a practice of patience and self-compassion. Each time you sit down to practice, you're doing something positive for yourself. That's worth celebrating, regardless of how the practice itself goes. Now that we've talked about how to start mindful breathing and some common challenges you might face, let's discuss how to make this practice a regular part of your life. After all, the real benefits of mindful breathing come from consistent, long-term practice. One of the best ways to make mindful breathing a habit is to link it to something you already do every day. This is called habit stacking. For example, you might decide to practice mindful breathing for 5 minutes right after you brush your teeth in the morning. Or you could do it right before you eat lunch or as soon as you get home from work. By linking your practice to an existing habit, you're more likely to remember to do it. Another helpful tip is to set reminders for yourself. You could put a sticky note on your bathroom mirror or set an alarm on your phone. These little reminders can help you stay on track, especially when you're first establishing the habit. It can also be helpful to track your practice. You might keep a simple journal where you note down when you practice and how it went. Or you could use a habit tracking app on your phone. Seeing your progress can be really motivating and can help you stick with the practice even on days when you don't feel like it. Remember that consistency is more important than duration. It's better to practice for 5 minutes every day than for an hour once a week. Start small and gradually increase your practice time as it becomes a more established part of your routine. Some people find it helpful to have a dedicated space for their practice. This could be as simple as a specific chair in your living room or a corner of your bedroom where you put a cushion. Having a space associated with your practice can help cue your mind that it's time to focus on your breath. Don't be too hard on yourself if you miss a day or even a week. Life happens, and there will be times when your practice gets disrupted. The important thing is to come back to it. Each day is a new opportunity to practice. Finally, remember why you're doing this. Maybe you want to reduce stress, improve your focus, or feel more connected to yourself and others. Whatever your reason, keeping it in mind can help motivate you to keep up your practice. As you get more comfortable with mindful breathing, you might want to explore how it can work alongside other practices or techniques you use in your life. Mindful breathing is incredibly versatile and can enhance many other activities. For example, if you practice yoga, you might find that starting your session with a few minutes of mindful breathing helps you get centered and ready for your practice. Many yoga traditions already incorporate breath awareness, so mindful breathing can be a natural complement. If you're into fitness or sports, mindful breathing can be a great way to prepare for a workout or competition. Taking a few mindful breaths before you start can help you focus and get in the zone. Some athletes even use mindful breathing techniques during their performance to stay centered and manage stress. For those who practice prayer or other forms of spiritual contemplation, mindful breathing can be a way to quiet the mind and create a sense of openness. Many people find that starting their prayer or meditation practice with mindful breathing helps them feel more connected to their spiritual life. Mindful breathing can also be combined with other stress reduction techniques. For example, you might practice mindful breathing while doing a body scan, where you systematically relax different parts of your body, or while visualizing a peaceful scene. Some people find it helpful to combine mindful breathing with journaling. You might take a few mindful breaths before you start writing, or use your breath as a way to center yourself if you get stuck or overwhelmed while writing. If you're into art or music, you might explore how mindful breathing can enhance your creative practice. Some artists and musicians find that taking a few mindful breaths before they start working helps them tap into their creativity more easily. Remember, the key is to experiment and find what works best for you. Everyone's practice is unique, so feel free to explore different combinations and see what feels most helpful and meaningful in your life. We've covered a lot of ground in this video, exploring the simple but powerful practice of mindful breathing. We've talked about what it is, how it works, its many benefits, and how you can start incorporating it into your daily life. Remember, mindful breathing is more than just a relaxation technique. It's a way of training your mind to be more present, more aware, and more in tune with yourself and the world around you. It's a practice that can help you navigate the stresses and challenges of daily life with more ease and grace. The beauty of mindful breathing is its simplicity and accessibility. You don't need any special equipment or skills. Your breath is always with you, always available as an anchor to the present moment. Whether you're dealing with stress at work, relationship challenges, or just the general ups and downs of life, mindful breathing is a tool you can use anytime, anywhere. As you start or continue your mindful breathing practice, remember to be patient and kind with yourself. Like any skill, it takes time and practice to develop. There will be days when it feels easy and natural, and days when it feels challenging. That's all part of the process. The most important thing is to keep coming back to your breath, again and again. Each time you do, you're strengthening your ability to be present, to focus, and to choose how you respond to life's challenges. So I encourage you to give mindful breathing a try. Start small. Even just a minute or two a day can make a difference. See how it feels to take a few mindful breaths when you're stuck in traffic, or waiting in line at the store, or dealing with a difficult emotion. Notice how it affects your state of mind, your body, your interactions with others. Mindful breathing might seem simple, but it has the power to transform your life in profound ways. It's a practice that can help you live with more awareness, more calm, and more connection to yourself and the world around you. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of mindful breathing. I hope you found it helpful and inspiring. Remember, your breath is always there, waiting to be noticed. All you have to do is pay attention.